versus movie. Movie versus movie. Movie versus movie. Movie versus movie.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Movie versus Movie. It's your hosts Nick and Patrick. Patrick, what's up, man?
Hello. What? I don't know what's up. I'm doing good. How are you?
I think both of us are probably still in a headspace because both of us were recently married, and we are probably still catching up from that. So I understand that quite a bit. But yeah, things have been going well. And Patrick, we both saw maybe the movie of the year, or maybe at least the highest contender. I think the betting markets right now have it as basically a shoe-in to win one battle after another.
Yeah. I think for me, definitely best movie I've seen this year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty incredible. I went to a screening, ended up seeing a screening a couple days early. Some friends were going to see it in 70mm at Somerville Theater. Here in Somerville, Massachusetts, and it was such a great theater-going experience.
I agree, man. It was so good. Tell me what yours was like, because we didn't actually see it together. We saw it separately.
Yeah, so saw it at Somerville Theater. There were a lot of people there. The demographics were as you would expect them for a Paul Thomas Anderson movie. Erin got up to go to the bathroom before the movie started. And she came back and she was like, there was a line around the corner and up the stairs for the men's room, and there was no line for the women's room. And she was like, I taunted the men's line as I was walking away, because that so never happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of film. I feel like a lot of people, a lot of groups of one, men seeing the movie by themselves, reading a novel beforehand, which no shade to that. I love a solo movie outing, just funny demographically. But yeah, totally. It was, I feel like I started to see some early reviews that were pretty rapturous. And so I was like, okay, I'm ready to buckle in. And I like Paul Thomas Anderson, and I like all the movies of his I've seen, and I haven't seen all of them. But and I think his movies are definitely up there as great movies of their respective eras, but I'm not a fully in the bag PTA stan.
Right. And he's had some misses. I thought Licorice Pizza was Alice saw it and was like, that was not good.
Yeah, So yeah, I think going in, I was like, I'm ready to be impressed, but I'm also, I'm not gonna fall head over heels for this just because this is my guy. And even I wouldn't consider Leonardo DiCaprio my guy either.
Yeah, I almost didn't see it because of him. I was like, I just don't like Leo in movies as much, and I thought that is he gonna be able, and I we'll talk about it, but the marketing from this movie completely threw me off. I was like, I'm not gonna go see this Taken movie.
Yeah, the marketing was bad. It was interesting. The marketing, I think, was bad, but I also don't know how you should or would market this. Yeah. But it's funny. The impression I got from the marketing is, because I think the closest analog I kind of assumed it would be was Inherent Vice, which is also a Paul Thomas Anderson movie. That one's a direct adaptation of a Thomas Pynchon novel, where One Battle After Another is kind of a loose adaptation.
Yeah.
Inherent Vice I enjoyed, but it's just a stoner kind of detective private eye yarn that doesn't really make sense, and just kind of falls further and further down a rabbit hole until it just kind of ends, and there's not a satisfying narrative arc to it. And that movie has occasional bursts of action and violence, but is mostly a talky, hangout, goofy, stonerish kind of movie. And so seeing the trailers for One Battle After Another, the impression I got, because I was like, I know this is a long movie, and they're showing action in the trailers. I was like, I bet this is there's 4 or 5 scenes that are action heavy, but it's going to be kind of a hangout, talky kind of movie, because that's kind of like what, like Licorice Pizza is kind of that too, just kind of like
Right,
a hangout
yeah.
type movie. But lo and behold, I mean, it was from start to finish. I feel like this movie was tense and just like in motion the whole time.
Yeah, I was gonna say that it's sort of like the West Wing sort of like walk and talk. Like there's never long periods of static. You know what I mean? And when they are, it's usually the Christmas Adventurers Club, because they are sort of, they don't have to move anywhere. But like, yeah, I agree. And especially towards the end, there's a few shots that really do make you feel like you are on a physical roller coaster. And I think that you're right, that like the whole thing kind of has, in a way, it's not as like action focused, but it kind of reminded me of Mad Max Fury Road, in that there is always a trip happening in the movie for almost the entire thing. And then there's like some it's bookended with sort of like maybe it's not even bookended, it's really just at the end you sort of get a little bit of a rest, but it's then implied that rest is not going to be, long lasting.
Yeah. I mean, one battle, the title is apt, because it's like, and it's told over a long period of time, and there's a big time jump, but I do feel like it is, like an action, it's an action movie, right, where there's like inciting incident and then like cascading series of events following that inciting incident, and it just but
Can I really quickly, before we leave the marketing thing, I was talking to my friend Nick about this, and he was like, I think that this was the only way that a corporation could try to market this movie to as wide an audience as possible, is to sort of give it that sort of like action movie feel, even though I think it's a little disingenuous for what the movie actually is. And then I was also thinking, like, why would Paul Thomas Anderson want that sort of marketing for the movie if he had a say over it? I'm not saying he did. But it also, I think, is effective in that it brought in that trailer probably appealed to the type of people that I think he was probably hoping would see it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a big budget, $150 million whatever movie. Yeah. So in order for it to have some level of financial success, they need to get the normies in, essentially. Yeah. So I feel like they were like, we got to go with that it's action, that it's Leonardo DiCaprio, and that's kind of it. I think they leaned into the humor a little bit in the trailers, but I don't think quite as... I thought it was a very funny movie.
Yeah, I would say that this movie is like kind of a screwball comedy with action stuff attached to it, if that makes sense. It's like a political comedy, and this is in no way saying that this movie's point of view or what it's trying to say is not very poignant and very well done and very elegant. However, I think that I would put it in the same, like the bones of it, I would say is more comedy than action. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think so. I feel like overall it leans more comedy, but yeah, I mean they had like Fortnite skins for this movie as a way to market it,
which is wild. That is so not what this movie is.
There's one character that I would want to play in a video game, which is Sensei. Which one? Of course, Sensei.
Oh my god! This movie has solidified that I will basically see any movie with Benicio del Toro in it.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, he's amazing. And apparently he wrote a lot of that character. Like, he was always going to be sort of like a karate sensei and all that kind of thing. But he wrote a lot of the character, how he portrays himself, how he moves through the world, what his sort of goals are. Apparently he had a lot of say over that. And I thought that it was so perfect and was such a great foil for Leonardo DiCaprio's character.
Yeah, because I guess we can say at this point we're going to spoil stuff in the movie.
Oh yeah, we should. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, from here on in, if you don't want any spoilers going into to see this movie, and I would highly recommend seeing this movie. So if you haven't seen it yet, maybe pause it here and come back afterwards. But we're gonna talk through the whole thing. So this is your warning.
Yeah, but so okay, his character. Yeah, I found that super interesting because I think I heard that interview too where he talked about that. A lot of the detail from what was my favorite sequence of the movie, which is them moving through Sensei's apartment while Bob's trying to find the phone charger.
It's so good.
Yeah, and like that part they I think kind of had outlined in that Benicio added a lot of the detail to it and broadened the world that like you see through that, which thought was fascinating because I mean I think the movie's about a lot of things, but I feel like after watching it and like digesting it a little bit, I was kind of like, that's like the movie, or in my mind I was like, that's the movie there, which I think the movie's a lot of things, and whatever, the author is dead, we can't know exactly what he wanted to do, but I was like, the whole idea that you have this kind of like bumbling, just like washed out former revolutionary as your protagonist, who's kind of just like stumbling his way through the world trying to find his daughter, not really like affecting much or being an effective political actor. He's kind of given up on that. And it's kind of this idea that's like, this is kind of like 16 years after this really like outward revolutionary movement has been like squashed by the feds. Mm-hmm. You're seeing like, oh, this is like this world that Sensei is living in, and these systems that they've organized in Bacton's Crossing. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Whatever the city is. Yeah. Like that's like these are the people who are like actually making a difference, and this is like the level of like depth that's required. And you're like, it's clear that this has been built up over a long period of time, and this is work that they're doing every day. Like this is their life. These are their families.
Like he's literally living with a lot of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And just the whole, what does he say? He goes,
my favorite line in the movie. I've got a kind of Latinx Harriet Tubman situation. So good. And I also really love the fact that Leo never even like really he never clues into what's happening there. He doesn't seem interested. He's not supportive of it. And Benicio is still willing to help him. But I thought that this was such a cool sort of like way of like that there are a lot of revolutionary movements, within a country at any given time, whether it's radical or not, whatever. But like the people, there are different motives for being part of it, and I think that the Leo character's motivation was like, and it's kind of said throughout the movie that he's kind of lost without a purpose, and he's kind of attached himself to this movement, but it also is for himself in a certain way, like. Whereas Benicio del Toro, like he even says, he's like, remember Bob, don't be selfish, don't get selfish. And like that's his whole thesis, is like he is giving so much. At the end he gets like a DUI and gets arrested, you know what I mean? But he does it for Leo because he recognizes that there are certain things that are just important to do, like saving his daughter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's this like historical cycle where he recognizes, like he looks up to the French 75, so the fact that Leo was part of that, or Bob was part of that, like earns him this level of trust and respect. But yeah, he's just it's so much more like, it's like, Bob, you did this for a period of time and you were able to essentially, partly out of necessity, but partly out of choice, like leave this world. And like for us, this is every day we are living this. It's like ocean waves, Bob, ocean waves, where he's like, you just gotta like live in it and like find a way to exist. I just love it. The part where I really want to see it again and just take that whole sequence in. When the skateboarder when they're driving and the skateboarder comes up to the window.
Like, it's so well done. Like these people, it's like when they're jumping through the rooftops too, and it's just anyway, keep going. I interrupted you.
I just think so, like my favorite, like the scenes that touched me the most are those scenes, and then the biggest laugh for me was that whole rooftop sequence, which is like sublime, and it's like the
Yeah.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles moving across the
They're like
roof.
parkouring, and they have like, yeah, oh God, they're just
And-
silhouettes moving from rooftop to rooftop. They look so cool.
And then when Bob just goes over the roof and falls 40 feet.
Yeah.
And hits the
And he
pavement.
and what a great stunt too. Like it's very Buster Keaton-esque that he like catches a branch on the way down kind of thing, but still like falls 40 feet onto his face.
Yeah, and then in one shot, which you're like, how did they do this? Because it has to be a stuntman, hits the deck, gets up, it's Leo, runs past the camera, and then gets tased immediately.
Yeah.
But yeah, just stuff like that where it was like, oh, there's just great physical comedy in this too, in addition to the just.
I mean, the way that the Sean Penn's character Lockjaw, the way he moves through the world is like Vince McMahon, and I'm just like, I was here for it the whole time. I was like, the way that his veins are so like they're crazy vascular in kind of a gross way. I was like, every detail in this movie is perfect.
Yeah, and so the one really interesting thing in our screening was with his character, because his character is obviously a comedic character, but he's also
Terrifying. Like,
yeah. And I think that's a big part of it. Like the Christmas Adventures Club are so ridiculous and like easy to mock, but also terrifying and have a ton of power. And his character though, almost any time his character was on screen, people were laughing in our theater quite a bit, and I like noticed it pretty early on where I was like, I'm like deeply uncomfortable by this scene, especially like the scenes of him and Perfidia, and I was kind of like, I was like a little uncomfortable that people were laughing as hard, but also whatever, people react how they react in their own way. But one of our friends that we saw it with, like afterwards we were talking about it, and she was like, honestly, that kind of like, I didn't really enjoy the movie like because of that. That kind of took me, that just kind of like early on just kind of like set me off wrong that this stuff was getting laughed at so much, and I just like couldn't enjoy the movie because of that.
I can see that point of view. For me, the thing that I like about him being, and the Christmas Adventurers Club being so silly, is that never once does Paul Thomas Anderson make these people feel like, oh, they're planning better, they never are someone that you aspire to be associated with. It's not like Darth Vader or something where it's like this guy's terrifying and also like commands a room and like, oh, I kind of want to be like that. Like Paul Thomas Anderson never lets you feel that way about the Christmas Adventurers Club or Lockjaw, really. And I appreciate that because I think that it is making a firm kind of moral statement, especially the time that we're in right now, is like these people are idiots and they are losers, and ultimately they're doing all of this for like a corner office and a view. Like, this is so stupid. Like, everything is meaningless for like, these people are dumb and not to be envied. But I also could see, like, if they aren't people that you just laugh at, they are dangerous. You know what I mean? Like, they're dangerous in their stupidity. And so I think that, like, in my theater viewing, we didn't have that problem. We did have a couple of moments where, like, it's silly, like when Perfidia and him are in their kind of sexual encounter. It was like, this is for laughs, but at the same time, it kind of just, like, for me, the way I was viewing it was like, they are showing that this person is kind of gross and not, again, is not somebody to I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, and it switches. Yeah, I think the movie switches a lot, and that's part of I think what you're saying is, these characters are fully deserving of ridicule basically at all times, but they're also terrifying, and it kind of switches on that a lot. And so
Like the fact
Yeah.
that the assassin that they sent out after Lockjaw and the daughter, like he's wearing sort of like a polo and there's like the little alligator and it's just kind of
Yeah.
silly. But then when he pulls out that shotgun and kills, or you think that he like kills Lockjaw, and you're like, this person's terrifying. This person is
Yeah.
cold as ice. Like he's stupid and he wants banana pancakes. Like what are we talking about? But he's also fully ready to kill somebody for these stupid ideals.
Yeah.
And I think that is sort of where the kind of horror of these people come from, is like, yeah, everything that they aspire to and their ideology is worthy of ridicule and is stupid, and you never want to be part of their club, but they are willing to kill people for it, and they feel no remorse. Like they
Yeah.
are broken people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like
and
the general that's in the room, when they discuss Lockjaw having a mixed race child. Like, he's literally drooling on himself. Like, you can see him, like, ugh. But he has, like, the hair of Lockjaw, which I thought was really great. Like, this is the last generation's version of him. This is always kind of a position that is in this club. And also, like, he has this kind of silly, stupid, like, oh, I'm a vegetable. And it's kind of, like, kind of silly. But then at the end, he's like, I want to be able to eat off the floor. It's so clean. And you're like, oh my God, this guy is so disgusting and horrible. And he's, holds so much power.
Yeah. And I fully, yeah, without like the scene of when he shoots Lockjaw, like the person directly behind us, like was like let out like a big laugh, like shocked laugh at that moment. And I think but I think a lot of that reaction too is you're like, this is a very tense movie, and so like there's just kind of like a release, and also like, oh, thank God, like I was waiting for this guy to get what's coming to him, and so you're so like relieved by it. You're like, I don't know, that's the only reaction I have is to like laugh at it. But
and I thought that Paul Thomas Anderson did a really interesting thing. And usually I'd be like, this is excessive, maybe we don't need this. But he has this crazy action movie death. And then we see him basically like the Terminator walking out of like the flames. And he's like fucked up on his face and he's holding his gun. And then you see him in his stupid, like not good suit sitting in that office, talking to them, talking about how this person is a semen demon. And you're like, oh no, like Paul Thomas Anderson gives him a second life so that he can die in a stupid way. You know what I mean? It's like, and I think that that's really important, is that because there's like an ideology of like blaze of glory deaths, and I'm glad that they didn't give him that. He dies at the end. This movement or whatever he's a part of, deems he's not even worthy of it after all of this, and they just gas him in the corner office. And he's burning in that little, like, I think that it's very poignant. And also, again, just to state it, like when he's in that office and he's like almost crying because this is what his life has led up to, and it's just like so meaningless. You know what I mean? It's just like a corner office. It's not even it's not appointed well. It's just like, it's just stupid. It's an office building. And I think that was also important to put in, that like what these people are willing to do these horrible things for are ultimately also meaningless. There is no, whereas you show what Benicio del Toro does and all of the lives that he affects and how everybody is like, this dude is he's the community leader. He's helping everybody and he's like trying to do his best and everyone respects him. And that is way more like valuable, and I think that the film like shows that in a much greater kind of admiration filled gaze rather than what the other people are fighting for, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Now it's speaking of like banal evil, the guy who interrogates multiple people throughout the movie,
he's terrifying.
He's terrifying. He's apparently a guy who does that or did that, is like retired military or police or something, so not a professional actor, and
I would
very
never
effective.
have known. He did a great job. And it was also like if that's real, that's all, like, if that's how he does that, it also shows how terrifying and how much power we just give to these people to basically bend the rules. And like, remember when Regina's character is in the interrogation room? She's captured at this convent that they've gone to try to that she brought Leo's daughter to try to like get everyone away to a safe place, and she is not a rat like everyone is calling Leo's wife, like
Perfidia,
partner, I guess. Yeah. And she still sits down and she's like trying to resist, and the guy's like, what the fuck are you doing? I think you don't understand. Either what we're talking about right now is not whether you go to prison forever or not, it's whether you walk out alive or not. Mm-hmm. Like, holy shit, it was so scary. And you see the impossible situations that these people are put in. It happens with Somerville, the guy who does the radio, underground radio broadcasting. Like, he's also put in that situation where he is not like, he's willing to die for the revolution. He's like, you don't scare me, like, do whatever you're gonna do. And they're like, I wonder if your sister would be scared. And you're like, man, these people are put in impossible situations, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think I read some criticism or people kind of feeling like the between Regina King and Somerville and the non-binary classmate of what's her name, Jason Willa,
yeah,
of like, you know, you're putting these marginalized characters or minority characters in the movie, and then like they're the ones that flip, and if you know, you're like, this feels kind of like disingenuous. I think especially with the two that you just mentioned, where you actually see the process of the interrogation, you're like, I don't think, at least from my point of view as the audience, I was like, I don't see any like blame in these characters. I think it's demonstrating like what
they're up
against. The strength. Yeah. Similar with the convent. I think I saw some criticisms of just like this, you know, highly armed group, like seemingly doesn't put up any fight, and they're like immediately stopped. And again, I don't know. I don't think even with like Perfidia, you know, I think that's a more complicated character, and I think there's, I don't know. I think there's questions, and I think there's valid criticism about like how that character's relationship with like revolution and like sexuality and stuff. But I feel like I don't think the movie really seeks to like blame anyone really for flipping, and it's always shown in like they're put in an impossible circumstance, and they're not weaker for doing this. It's basically just like this is the power of the state and what they're up against. Yeah. I've
been thinking about this a lot because I felt it a lot too, especially when the non-binary kid flips. I'm sort of like, why? But then I was sitting with it, and I was talking about it with one of my friends, and he was like, yeah, but those are the people that are in the most danger. You know what I mean? Like, if these white women, like these teenagers, get taken in, there is some sort of like societal protections that are gonna help them. However, if you are presenting as a non-binary person, if you are a person of color, all of these things, once the handcuffs go on and you go away, you are in so much danger. You know what I mean? And so it also makes sense that those are the people that would feel that, and maybe that would inspire them to try to protect themselves. And that made me feel like it's not blaming those people, but it's showing, again, the kind of impossible choices that they're put up against that some people don't have to feel as much. So I just wanted to state that out there because it's helped me kind of get over some of my qualms with that, like you were saying. And like you said with Perfidia, I think it actually is... It's a testament to the writing of that character, because she is so complicated. And it's not just like, oh, she's a rat, and that's as simple as it is. She is selfish in a lot of ways, and she's living a life that sort of like has no guarantee of a future, and she's enjoying the moments where she can, but she also does have a lot of very selfish reasons to keep going, and she has this identity that she's doing it for, you know, like her mom, or like those people that Leo talks to, the older women, are like, you know, she comes from a full line of revolutionaries. Like she's never going to stop, and she's going to keep running. That's her identity, and it's really hard for somebody to fight against that. So like I feel okay with how that character is treated. Mostly what this movie made me want, and it's so crazy because it's already a 3-hour movie, but I was like, I would like a little more. I would like a little bit more padding on some of the things around this, because like I wanted more time at the convent. I wanted more time with Regina. I wanted more time with like what happens afterwards, maybe a little bit. Like there's a lot of moments where it's very clear that there were like cuts, like when the black revolutionary at the beginning is getting shot at by Lockjaw, and he puts on the gas mask when he's in a burning building trying to survive. That character, or that actor, is he's like in a ton of stuff, and I'm totally blanking on his name right now, I apologize, but he's in a ton of stuff. It feels crazy that he would come in for this kind of background role, so I feel like there was stuff cut and I want to see it.
Yeah, Wood Harris is his name.
Yes.
Yeah, no, the supporting cast is crazy. I realized I said Regina King earlier. I meant Regina Hall. But because her character too, it's like Paul Thomas Anderson, he'll put a lot of comedic actors in his pretty serious movies. And a lot of people talked about how the Christmas Adventurer who says the semen demon, is Jim Downey, who's like a Saturday Night Live writer. But yeah, like Regina Hall, like I know her from the Scary Movie franchise, and she's hilarious in that. And so, and for being a comedy movie, but her character is like so deadly serious the whole time, and she's great in it.
She's so good.
Like she brings that gravitas for being the person who is the first actual contact that Willa has with this movement that she's heard so much about from her dad, like the first real person that interacts with her, and kind of like has to communicate to her the gravity of the situation, is really good. But yeah, no, it's there's just so much, there's so many little things in this movie. I think just the depth of the network in the city when Leo gets arrested, and like the nurse and the woman processing him at the hospital.
Amazing. Yeah,
and you're
the
just
booking woman at the police station too, like leading this kind of idiot in like, this is how we get you through this kind of thing. I was like, this is so good, and it shows the importance of organizing. You know what I mean? Yeah,
but and then I mean, I think it seems like the movie is largely about being a father and dealing with just kind of like regrets or alienation from the world, of kind of Gen Xers versus their Gen Z children, and like dealing with that, and feeling like you can keep them safe, but also like wanting them to like live up to like the ideals that you maybe held at one point and don't hold as strongly anymore.
I read a really interesting article that was talking about how the triangle of Sean Penn, Leo, and what is her name? Because she's new. This is the first movie that she's been in, right?
Chase Infinity.
Yeah, Chase.
Which is a crazy name.
Yeah, those three people in the movie is sort of symbolic of who gets to lay claim to that generation. You know what I mean? And I think that it's very well done in that at the end it's sort of like, no, like they will not be claimed a little bit. You know what I mean? And I just really like that. There are certain things that I think are hard, right? Like the only person who I feel like gets sort of like this blaze of glory death that I was talking about is the tracker. who's a very complicated character and is also sort of one that I feel like I needed more screen time to fully believe the reversal we saw out of him. But I thought that it was important to also have that person in it because it showed that, like, even if you are of the systems of oppression, you don't have to stay that way. You know what I mean? And I enjoyed that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was interesting. I feel like his character did kind of use a trope to kind of speed up that development.
Yeah.
A little bit, where you're
So
like
the like I don't do children kind of thing.
yeah, and just kind of the like indigenous person who has had enough.
Yeah.
And is going to do something about it. I don't know. It gave me shades of like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest with the guy
A little bit.
escaping at the end. But it was an interesting character too, because they say, well, now I don't want to get this wrong. I think when they're talking about them, they're like, he's actually Mexican. He's not like fully indigenous.
Yeah, he's like half. I think, and this is kind of the gross way that the Christmas Adventurers Club talk about it. They're like, he's half like Mexican, half, and then they kind of list like 3 different kind of Native American peoples, and they're like, so I would never trust him. You know what I mean? It's like awful.
Yeah. But they're kind of like, he plays this role for us. But then, yeah, it's kind of the insult from these. Yeah, it is interesting though, because you're like, you've really been. Yeah, it's like this is where you draw the line. But
yeah, a little bit. Because I was like, it's very clear that he's done this before, and like, why is this person any different? But at the same time, like, I could have got there. I just needed a little bit more time with him, and maybe like any dialogue, he had a lot of single sentence scenes with Chase's character. So like, I just needed a little bit more to get me to the place where like he had, bonded in some way with this person that made him like kind of realize that he had to do this. But instead it was just sort of like the guys he drops her off with are just kind of assholes to him, and then he's like, he sees them like gassing up the boat to bear, like, basically dump her body, and he decides to not do that. But I just didn't quite get there. That was the one part of the movie that I was sort of like, this kind of feels a little forced, I guess.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that part. I think the part that, so yeah, the whole ending car chase is extremely tense.
Oh my god, it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, it's so tense and like,
and almost
nauseating.
Nothing happens.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, I've seen people point this out of like, Bob doesn't really have any effect on the plot. He's just kind of following one step behind after everything happens. And it's really Willa that, that's where something happens when she like decides to end it. But once the crash has happened and she shot the other guy, and then Bob comes around the corner and she's pointing the gun at him, and it's like, oh, she's learned all this stuff about who her real father is, who some of these people are. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, she doesn't trust that anything she's been told is true. And I like had a moment of like, is she gonna shoot Bob? Like, is this? And I think if I was able to take a step back and be like, okay, what is this movie really doing? It's like a father that has young daughters making a movie. Like, that would be an extremely cynical way to end this movie. Yeah. But I like felt it in the moment and believed it. Like, oh my god, like she doesn't know what to trust, and then she says, she's screaming at him like, who are you? Giving him the code prompts, and he's just like, I'm your dad. It's me. I'm your dad. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that it got me like a little welled up at that moment, and I was like, oh man, it really worked for me. But yeah, I had a moment, I think too, because I'm like, well, I feel like Paul Thomas, his movies tend to end a little dramatically and they don't always have happy endings. So
yeah, I fully thought that she was going to shoot him too. I was like, oh my god, what a crazy end. But I also realized that they never really resolved the paternity issue. You know what I mean?
So my take on it is, I guess my thought was that Bob doesn't know, or maybe he knows, but chooses not to address it, and that
Yeah.
Willa decides. I don't know. I don't know about that. My assumption is he doesn't know. Willa knows and decides that Bob's her dad, and so she's not going to address it.
Yeah.
Was kind of my read.
Maybe it would have been too cheesy. Something that I would have liked is that Bob had known the whole time and was still like, but you're my daughter. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I think that would have made me... It's hard to redeem a lot of what Bob is and does. And I think that would have gone a long way to help me get to where they are at the end, where he is sort of, still retired, still out of the game. But he loves his daughter, and he's going to support her as she kind of goes out and follows in the footsteps. And I would have loved to have the sort of complexity of, this person is my legacy, but that doesn't mean that I am the one who actively created this person. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think, and it kind of would go along with the theme of the movie, and something that I found really kind of healing at the end, I guess. I came into this movie, Patrick, in a super dark place. I just deleted Reddit off my phone because I was getting to the point where I was like, wow, I guess violence is the only answer we have left to us, huh? Like, reading all of this stuff. And then I saw this movie and I was like, no, it's about the continuation of the struggle, and about when you are too tired to continue fighting, there are another generation of people who are going to pick it up and keep it moving for you. And I thought that was really, I really needed that message in that moment. Maybe it's just me reading into it too much, but I really liked that feeling as I came out of the movie.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really hopeful movie, at least on its face. I'm sure if you start to I think it's it ends on a big triumphant American girl needle drop, which is also I think intended, it's thornier and trickier and more complicated than that. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, it wants you to leave feeling hopeful. And I think as a political movie, I do think it's so timely, and I do think it is very I think I felt similarly. I feel like a lot of people watching this will probably come away with it feeling more hopeful, and I think there can be a lot of hemming and hawing about what are Paul Thomas Anderson's actual politics, and how does he deal with this kind of thing. And I don't think that's that important. This is a movie about left-wing revolutionaries. It's about a movement that doesn't exist in present day. It's inspired by movements from the 70s, but the French 75 is not, there's not an equivalent that's existed in the United States in our lifetimes.
Yeah.
But I think it uses that politics effectively. And I think my hang up with it being Leo, it could be hard to separate who you think of him as a person in a celebrity and movie star versus him as an actor. And I think Leo as the useful idiot kind of in this movie works really well. And I think that's part of why I like to think I don't know if he ever does know that who her real father is, because he's kind of an idiot with mostly good intentions, but
right.
It is kind of selfish at the end of the day. And I'm he's not really made out to be a full hero or seem to really fully understand what he's involved with.
Yeah.
And I'm also I don't imagine that Paul Thomas Anderson or Leonardo DiCaprio have the exact perfect politics that I think that people should have. But I think that they've made an effective movie to communicate what you're saying of more of a hopeful ideal.
And I can't speak to Paul Thomas Anderson. I feel like you can't make this movie without having a certain view of the world. But Leo, there was an interview and he was like, fundamentally, this movie is about both sides having like gone too far. And it's like, that's not actually what the movie is about. That's completely not right. And it kind of makes me feel like Leo is perfect in this because he is just an idiot. You know, he's not going to understand the full scope of what's happening. It very much reminds me of the sort of Benicio del Toro versus Leo sort of character divide, you know, in their ideologies and how they think about the world. And I kind of think that kind of probably tracks through to the actual actor. One thing, though, that I'm grateful for to Paul Thomas Anderson, and I have no idea how he got it through a corporate censor, but like, he never in this movie denounces the use of violence as a way of revolution. Like, there's violence throughout this movie perpetrated by both sides, and it really only ever makes you be like, fuck these guys for doing that, when it's the Border Patrol folks who are completely abusing their power. They're inciting riots by like dropping off a guy with a Molotov and like starting a fight kind of thing. I'm so glad they left that in there, because I was like, yes, of course this happens, and nobody ever believes it can be possible, and they showed how easy it is.
Yeah, that's it's crazy, some of the stuff that gets in here. And it's like,
and I was like, how did this make it through like a corporate, you know, room of executives watching this film? But like, they somehow was able to do it, and I'm grateful for it. So
yeah, no, I was looking up a Letterboxd review from, there's a writer I like named Max Reed, who has a great Substack about just technology and the political moment, but he's on Letterboxd too, and he was writing about the movie and said like, PTA doesn't need to be the exact kind of Pinchon Stan I am any more than he needs to be the exact kind of communist I am, which he's not. Which is kind of like getting what I'm at of like, it doesn't. The fact that this movie exists in like the way that it does, whether or not the creator shares the exact politics that I have, like it feels like a combination of like a movie about a father and a daughter relationship, and kind of like also like dealing with like your kids' generation being more radical than you are.
Yeah.
And also it's loosely adapting this novel that's about like 70s revolutionary movements that were much more
comfortable with violence.
yeah. And so like that cocktail creates this end result that, like you said, like does feel like pretty radical, especially coming from this like massive studio movie. And I haven't
it's crazy.
But it does it in a way, it's like it's a pretty refreshing piece of political art in this moment that's not too, it's extremely on the nose, like it's extremely relevant, but it feels much more broad than some works that can be extremely on the nose in the sense of like they're explicitly doing like a Trump thing. Yeah. Like I saw someone kind of comparing Lockjaw to Trump as a character, and I was like, I don't see that at all.
No.
I think that's it. It was similar. Did you see Mickey 17?
No, that's on my list. I might watch it tonight. I'm also maybe going to watch Event Horizon, which is apparently a terrifying horror movie.
Mickey 17 I enjoyed it, and it's doing a lot of, I mean, Bong Joon-ho can be real, especially with his English language movies, it's like got a huge mallet and is like bonking you over the head with it. But that had like a Mark Ruffalo character that was like, even that I was like, people were like, oh, he was obviously doing a Trump thing, which I was like, I don't think it was a one-to-one, but much less subtle, I guess, than this movie. Because this movie too, for a movie that's in present day, I think outside of like the way the Christmas Adventures like talk about stuff and some of the comedic lines, it doesn't really rely on like modern day or even like modern day vernacular and stuff. There's no like nudges and winks to like,
there's no ice, there's no or
there's none of that. It doesn't feel like it's patronizing you. It's like you understand this, and I think it also speaks to like these kind of struggles have been ongoing for a long time over many generations.
Yeah.
And I think I like that. It feels more timeless in that respect than something that's trying to be more specifically about the Trump moment or phenomenon or like him as a person. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it did a great job. It was exactly what I kind of needed from this kind of political movie. And I also am... They have a couple of lines throughout the movie that are basically like if you just let them talk about their... It's exactly what you said. Like, I don't need this person to be my type of communist or whatever. Like, there's some references in the movie to... if we can just get them to tear each other apart about their differences. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm glad that the movie also shows that that's not needed to get some of the basic stuff done.
Yeah.
Which I really appreciated. It's not like getting bogged down in like this person believes this and this person believes that, and so everything falls apart. It's like, actually, we all kind of believe in the sanctity of like people being able to live safe, free lives, no matter if they're the majority population or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think you have. So there's the Comrade Josh character and scene, and watching it in the full theater in Somerville, I was kind of like,
is that the guy on the phone?
Yeah, it's kind of like, is this fucking movie about us kind of deal? But I think that scene could feel like one of the more cynical parts of the movie. I think it's a very funny reveal that he's like middle-aged. It's not like
this new
young person
kid
with like a septum piercing and like dyed hair or something. But I felt like that I thought it was funny, and I thought it was for the most part like pretty spot on, because I think at one point he says, Bob's like, I can't remember like the passphrase, and he's like, well, you should have been spending more of your time like reading all the texts so that like you're supposed to. It was like very much like, well, you haven't read the right books, so you can't like.
Yes.
But it was, I don't know. I think it did a good enough job at kind of poking at some of those tendencies in like left liberal spaces without being like, this is the problem that's like holding everything back. You're like, sometimes sometimes people are a little too hung up on like a little too hung up on some of these more like factional kind of like disputes, and like just need to like get to the point.
I also love that fight comes between two people, like you said, of the same generation, but like this guy obviously joined later. There's also the interesting bit after where he gets on the phone with one of his old like French 75 comrades, I guess, and they have this sort of connection there, and they're like, and then he's like, this guy has earned your respect. And I haven't really decompressed that part yet, and like I thought it was a fine part of the movie. It was very funny. It was good, but like I was also sort of like, I'm not exactly sure what this part is trying to say. Like you said, I need to watch this movie again, because it is not enough to watch it once and really get everything that they're putting in front of you.
Yeah. And I think even our screening, people were laughing quite a bit, so I think I even missed a couple of lines just with like residual laughter. But I don't know. I think it does. And I guess just in terms of the like political space, it like sat in a place for me where I felt inspired and hopeful by it, and felt like I could laugh along with the movie without feeling like it was too cynical or pointedly trying to antagonize I don't know, certain demographics.
I also find it like already the conservative sort of movement in the U.S. where we both live has already started to try to pick this movie apart a little bit and like be like, oh, look how crazy it is, and like this happened right after Charlie Kirk was killed, and all this kind of thing. But I was like, this movie feels pretty airtight from attack. Like it feels silly and crazy for someone to say that about this movie having watched it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about that like right after. Of like, I wonder if they will like try to like dig into this, or if it is kind of like too. It's like, will it get popular enough? If it's like winning Oscars and stuff, I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of annoying like discourse about it. But you're like, yeah, are people, are a bunch of. I think it's kind of ties back to the marketing stuff. Like, are just a bunch of average Americans in Republican majority areas just going to go see this movie and like enjoy it for what it is, or hate it because they think it's weird and arty, or hate it because they feel like it's ideological? I don't know.
The reason I think that it's fairly airtight from that is that the conservative sort of bad guys in this movie, they feel like deep staters, in the vernacular of the kind of conspiratorial sort of movement in the right. It's like these people are deep staters. They also are people who are not following the law, and they are doing stuff extrajudiciously and causing problems for their own personal gain, and that's just like corruption. They're not doing it. It's not like Lockjaw's like, I'm going to break the law so that I can make this city more safe. He's like, I'm trying to get a paternity test so I can join a stupid club. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like even if you are of an ideology that we're not going to get along, and you are much more comfortable with violence and sort of like conservative, far right, fascist sort of ideas than I am, like, I think that this still is like, but these guys are bad. You know what I mean? Like, but these are our guys. You know what I mean? I think that that's as far as they can kind of push it. Or else you're kind of like admitting to the game a little bit.
Right. Yeah. But who knows?
Hopefully,
I don't know.
anyway.
These
We'll see.
people, these people have no shame or like nuance, and also they can say, if they do decide to go after it, they can say whatever they want, because most of the people who are their audience probably won't go see it, and they'll just be like, oh, it's a dumb woke movie, but
lib propaganda or whatever, which is funny because this is not a liberal movie. This is a left movie, I would say.
Yeah, I think so too.
Like, at never once does it pose the idea that like, if we all just got along, then maybe we could find some common ground. That is not the message of this movie. This movie is very much of like, we need to make change, and the only way we do that is with our communities and by making relationships with each other and trusting that the next generation is going to keep moving this ball forward, and it's not our job to see this through completely. It's our job to push as far as we can. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and there's no real institutional good guys.
Yeah.
There's no one that's like...
Exactly. That's also very, very true.
Yeah.
Well, we're almost at an hour. I love talking about this movie. I think that we're probably, in our Oscar episode, going to probably talk about it again. I foresee Sean Penn winning Best Supporting Actor. I think I see the movie winning Best Picture. Paul Thomas Anderson might win Best Director. Like, I don't know if it's going to be a full suite, but I think that those three feel pretty locked in to me. What do you think?
Yeah. The only thing I could see taking Sean Penn not winning is if Benicio and Sean Penn get nominated and they split the vote.
I would love if Benicio gets a nod for this. Like, holy shit, he deserves it.
But no, I think PTA, or no, Sean Penn, probably the front runner for supporting actor. I assume Leo will get a nod, but I'm seeing buzz that the Timmy Chalamet ping pong movie might be his coronation.
I've heard that too. I don't know. He might be too young. Like just politics, like Oscar politics. I'm not sure that he's going to get it.
I think people kind of thought last year he had a shot for the Bob Dylan movie. and that was
Yeah.
kind of like, okay, we didn't give it to you then,
But
so
we'll
now
give it to
you've
you
earned
now.
it with something more hefty. But yeah, I don't know. I imagine, yeah, it's got to be the front runner for Best Picture. But I'm
I mean,
curious
it's pretty
to see.
obvious that Timothée Chalamet he thinks he deserves an Oscar, and he is definitely doing the type of projects at the right time of year to get an Oscar. So I think it's like definitely in the next 5 years, but I just don't know. He still feels too fresh for me for like the voters to be like, it's his time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, look at Leo. He had to wait like 30 years or whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm curious to see.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anything else before we sign off?
No, tonight I'm going to see, well, timely for now, maybe not as timely when the movie comes out. I'm going to see Rocky Horror Picture Show for the first time ever.
Oh, really? For the first
Yeah.
time ever? Are you doing
Yeah.
a midnight screening?
That 7 p.m.
Okay, fair
midnight. But
We're
it's the
old.
whole thing. So I'm sure we'll catch up.
Let me know
about
how it is, like what you think about it. Maybe we'll do another one of these special episodes about it, because it is such a formative movie to a lot of people I know, because I was in the theater world my entire college and high school life. So like it was forced on me multiple times. I think it's a great movie, but Alice watched it recently, who is also somebody who, is steeped in this tradition, and was like, it doesn't hold up as well as I remember. So I'm interested to see what you think about it, someone who has never seen it before, because it might be a different experience.
Yeah, I'm curious too, because I was very aware of it in high school. Like the band kids who were weirder than I, and were also like theater tech kids, would go see it every year at the local indie movie theater. And
Are you going to interactive performance or just a straight screening?
Yeah, it's at Arts at the Armory in Somerville.
Oh, nice.
And I purchased a kit of whatever they're like, you can buy this, we'll give you everything you need. So
yeah,
I think it'll be fun.
It's going to be interesting for a first time too. I'm actually, we gotta talk about it afterwards, because it's like, it's like going to see The Room for the first time if it was interactive. Like I feel like it is a different experience. I think it's a very fun experience, but I am interested to see how it is for like a first time experience.
Yeah. Well,
Cool.
We'll have to
All right,
talk
everyone,
about it.
if you're interested in hearing more of us chatter on, then you should subscribe to Movie versus Movie. We have a great episode coming out soon. It's the Weird Al story versus... what was the other one? Weird Al story versus the Naked Gun, the new Naked Gun movie. So good, and we're excited to talk about it. It's gonna be good. So subscribe now, and if you want us to watch any specific movies, you should send us an email. The email is in the show notes. All right, everyone. See you later. Patrick, anything you want to sign off with?
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Which is tomorrow at the time we're recording
Yeah,
this.
when we're recording. All right. See you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Movie versus movie.